Happy Obon Festival. Hey. I haven't quite worked out what the Obon Festival is all about. It seems to be an excuse for a week off or a couple of days off. I think it's when your ancestors are supposed to rise from the graves and come and visit and say hello to the living, and you give them some tangerines and cups of tea and get on with your life. But it's quite nice to have a break in the middle of the summer and to think about your place in the world and the scheme of things and all that stuff. So in light of that, I thought I would do just a very quick chat while I'm walking home from the Chinese restaurant I went to with the wife and eldest kid. I said I'm just going to walk back to burn off some of the calories. It's actually a relatively cool day. It's humid, but it's maybe 30 degrees, maybe 29. You can hear a cicada in the tree there. So I thought I'd walk. Anyway, and while I'm walking, it reminded me of how I got started, and I thought that might be of interest to people. I'm aware that everybody's story is different, how they end up in Japan and how they end up teaching English. Maybe different, but with some similarities. Let me turn back the way I came. It's getting a bit noisy around here, lots of traffic. So when we, how did I end up in Japan? Basically, I followed a woman out here. I met a cute Japanese girl, or as I say, a girl who happened to be Japanese. I wasn't looking for a Japanese girl or anything. Met her in the States, and we were two foreigners in a strange land, in Arkansas. It's a very strange land. Anyway, we hit it off, and one thing led to another, and where should we live together? And we've been back and forth. We've lived in America, we've lived in England for 7 years, and Japan for 3 years. Sorry, it was Japan for 3 years, then back to England for 7 years, and then now we've been in Japan for, I guess, 17 or 18 years. So I think this is probably it. Probably where we're going to stay, where we'll remain. And so I kind of found myself in English teaching. I'd never learnt Japanese. I was never particularly interested in Japan per se. I was interested in this girl from Japan, but not the country. And I have to say, I quite enjoy living in Japan now. And I can't quite, with the way the politics in the world is, certainly can't imagine living in America. And England is less desirable with the world of post-Brexit and all that stuff. So here I am, and I quite like it here in Japan, I have to admit. I hate to admit. And it's worked out well for me, mainly because I can cash in my Englishness, and people will pay me money to basically use my native language. We're just walking along next to the train line. There's a train line here. It's a one-track train line. It's the Narita line. It goes all the way to Narita Airport. Anyway, and so getting set up in Japan for various reasons. We decided to move to Japan. We had no job. Didn't have a large amount of money, but we sold up our house in England. This was back in 2007. The exchange rate was very beneficial, similar to what it is now actually, a bit better even. And by selling our semi-detached in Derby, we were able to outright buy a place here in Abiko. The stars aligned, everything was good. Why did we choose Abiko? If you look at a map, you've got Tokyo just here, Narita Airport just here, Abiko's right in the middle. So I thought, that'll be easy to get back to Britain if we make a success of it, and if we cock it up, I can get on a train and get to Tokyo easily enough and find a job there. Fortunately, I've never had to do that. I wouldn't say we've been a massive success, but I've not been a massive failure. I've been a moderate success. So Follow me and be a moderate success, not a massive failure. And that's the kind of story of my life, I think. I've had moderate success at various things. I always wanted to be a foreign correspondent. I never quite made it, but I did work for local newspapers in America, and yeah, I wanted to be rich. I never quite made that, but I do have my own business with my wife, and I would say we make a moderate living, certainly make a living, put our 2 kids through university. Got some funny looks from 2 high school kids riding by on their bikes. Yeah, so when we got started, we spent the first 2 or 3 months, certainly 2 months, just walking around. We were going to open our school, and instead of opening immediately, we walked around, and that was when our kids were like 2 years old and 6 years old. It was summer holidays, temperature much like this, and we found ourselves walking around the streets of Abiko, and that turned out to be sort of accidentally great way of advertising the fact that we were here. And this is a relatively small town, about 100,000 people, small city, and in our neighbourhood. So we had no car, didn't even have bicycles. We didn't actually have any furniture either when we started out. We just had, it's like a snake. We're eating one of those enormous meals, like when a snake swallows a hamster or something. You've got that big lump as it tries to digest it over a month. That was like us with our house. We'd spent everything we had to buy this house, and didn't have anything else left. But anyway, my point is, we walked the streets of Abiko, and people got to know us. They'd say, "Oh, who's that Gaijin family?" And mostly people were friendly, curious. The people who were interested, some of them became our students. But it also gave us a chance to acclimatise ourselves with the area. So yeah. So I don't know if that translates for your situation. I don't know what your situation is, but everybody is different. I would say don't rush into starting your business, but sometimes needs must. And there was a time when we were down to our last, I think, 30,000 yen. Our last, what is that, $300, 150 pounds or whatever. That's how bad it got. But now we're doing all right. Now we have a school, and yeah, we own our house, we own the school. What else? Things are good, but it's taken us 18 years to get to this stage where I can now leisurely walk home out of desire to get some exercise instead of necessity, because I can't afford a car. Not the case. So yeah, there are different ways to get here. You have to find your own. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to fill you in a bit on that. And I guess I'm going to end up living in Abiko for the rest of my life. I don't know if that's the case. If that is how things work out, so be it. I'm all right with that. I do think about having another place somewhere else in Japan, or if we got really rich, having a place in, having a place in England and a place in Japan. I don't think that's really viable or realistic or even desirable. Yeah, I think as you get older, time is the important thing. Possessions are not. Anyway, that's a topic for another time. Right, I'm getting to a main road. It's going to get busy. I'm at the central post office of Abiko. So I'll sign off and have a good one. And I hope your story is as interesting or more interesting than mine. All the best. Have a nice Obon.